guys, and welcome to another episode with the Swedish team. Today we're looking at how you can automate using Python and the WebDriver Selenium. And we're going to look at how you identify whenever an update on a website occurs and then take an action like notifying you via email so you don't have to check these events manually all the time. It could be, for example, helping you with a task like identifying when a stock goes up or down, and you want to be notified whenever it does. It could also be like a flash sale randomly occurring and you want to know when it does. Or for example, a housing queue releasing new apartments, which is the case we're going to look at today. So this is the housing queue for students in Stockholm, and it has a number of apartments available at each given time, and they are being released in batches, and they are being released fairly randomly, so you don't want to go in and check this manually yourself all the time because it's pretty time consuming. So instead we want to see whenever this event changes, or like this data changes, which is the number of available apartments right now. We want to get an email and then be able to like go into the website ourselves and check the new apartments out, see if they are something for us. I went for a quick lunch break, and now it seems like it actually updated the number of available apartments with a new batch. So the new number is now 57. So I think this script will help a bunch identifying these kind of updates and make your life much easier. So we define a main function here in our Python script, and you can place your Python script inside your a project folder in your workspace. And inside of this main we call a check if updated function, and this will be where we place the main logic for all of our script. And this check if updated function, the main idea of this is to compare the newly fetched data from the website to a locally stored value that we store in a text file, and we then see if these two numbers differ, and if they do, we'll notify the user that the number of apartments have changed, and if they don't, we don't notify the user, but we still update the local value to this newly fetched one. So in this check if updated function, we will have to access this locally or local stored text file somehow, and we can do this by getting the absolute path to the file. So first of all, we look at the script directory path, which will be the path where our script is actually located, and we can use the OS package that's imported and use it for this purpose. So this will get our current script directory, and we can call the file name, we can call this file whatever we want, but previous number.txt would be a good name. We also want to then finally concatenate these two and to get the actual file path, and we can use the ospath.join for this, and we'll join the script directory path, which is the folder we're in, with the file name of the text file we want. However, now we have to first check that this file actually exists, because the first time we run this, the file won't exist, and we might have deleted it in between. So let's create a check if previous exists function, where we pass in the absolute file path and just make sure that such a file exists. If previous exists, we take in the absolute file path, and we here can use and actually return immediately the os path.isFile function, and that just takes in the file path, which we pass on as a parameter. So now we know whether the file exists or not. We can store this in Boolean here, and that will be like true or false. does the file exist or not. Now we have the data we need and we can start processing it. We can check whether the previous number of apartments differ from the updated one from the website, and if it differs, that means that it's been changed and we should send an email to the user, to the email we specify, and we can pass on to this function the previous number of apartments and the updated number, just to specify it in the email and make it a bit more easy to use. We also need to update the local text file, so let's pass on the absolute file path and the updated number of apartments. So that'll be what we want to do, but if they don't differ at all, we won't do anything. We could also define the else for the outer function here, and that means the previous number doesn't exist, like we don't have a local text file. In this case, we could say that the updated number of apartments is just that, the updated number from the server, what we already have, the function we already written. And we also need to update the local number of apartments, but with the updated number of apartments, just like we did here, but this will create our initial file in that case. So let's go ahead and create these two functions, send mail and update local. Alright, so let's define our send mail function here. It will take in the previous number of apartments and the updated number of apartments, so we can specify this in the email to make it a bit more informative. So first we set up the server and connect to it using the SMTP library, and an SMTP server is basically what you use to send emails, and I'll use a Gmail server in this case. So if you would just follow along, you could you'll have to use an Gmail server as well, but you could use any SMTP server of your choice if you would like. And this will be the server we use to send the email. The receiver could be have any kind of email address basically. Here we do hello process, or basically it's like a TLS handshake process for emails. And now we need to log in to our server, and this we can do by the server.login method. Here we can specify our Gmail address, whatever you have, and your Gmail password. If you don't want to store it in plain text like that, you probably shouldn't, you can use the os.environ to get it from environment variables that you have set. So I've set mine to the name gmail.user and os.environ and then Gmail password here. So now we should be logged into the server. So let's specify kind of the email we'll send here. And the email we'll send will have to have a subject. We could say it's like SSB updated number of apartments, like that. We have to have a body, so we could put anything we like here, SSB as updated apartments, and then we could put our input variables here if we'd like, previous number of apartments, and let's format it a bit nicer, and from to and then we have the updated number here, right? Like that. Then we have a body text string that we can use, and now we can create our message, and that will be the physical email that we build up using the MIME multipart alternative, like that. And we specify the message subject to be the message variable we just set. So now we need to specify who the message is from, and that is the same address we have put in the server. So that's the environment variable in this case, Gmail user, right? And 2 is any address you like to send it to. You could have put it in an environment variable if you want, but it's not really any sensitive information there, so you could just put it in plain text also. I'll send it to swedishtid@gmail.com. Nice. So that is that for the message. And now we need to attach to our message the body text that it should contain. So then we could write mime text and then our body text variable and specify that it should be plain text, because you could specify HTML here as well and say and send in some HTML and send multiple parts of your body, but in this case we'll only send in text. Then we attach this body to the message like that using the attach method. And then finally we want to send the mail, and that we do with the send mail function, and we specify who it's from, and that's the environment variable we have set, Gmail user, who it's to, swedisht@gmail.com. We'll receive this email, and the email will contain the message as a string. So that's basically it. Now that the email sending notification should be working. We can also, we have to import these, of course, in the up here. So let's do that so we don't get any errors. We need to have the SMTP library, like that. And we also need to have the parts for the email. So that will be from email.mime.text, import mime text, and also from email.mime.multipart, import mime multipart. And this could do somewhat differently, because this is like a setup if you want to use HTML in your body as well, but I'll just leave it like that for now. And this should be resolved, hopefully. Oh, I've written SMTP. Right, okay, nice. No errors, and we're good to proceed. We didn't write the update local function, so let's do that. We define the update local function, taking in the absolute value path, or absolute file path, and then have updated number of apartments into it, so it knows what to write to it. First we open the absolute file path, so we open the file where we've stored our data, the text file, and in write mode this time, which the W stands for. Then we write to the file with the updated number. This means it will be the previous number will be overwritten with the new one, and then we close the file. And that's it for the update local function. We seem to get an error here because we haven't imported by. So let's import by in order to use XPath to in Selenium to search for our path. It will be in the common and by there like that. We import by. So now we are error-free and should be good to go. Let's run this in the terminal and see if we get any text file stored immediately here in our project folder, and if the script seems to run correctly. I forgot to add a thing to make the the Python script to run, and we have to have the if name is equal to main, like that, and then in here we call the main function, and this is a Python thing in order to identify and correctly name the functions. So then we'll run the check if updated once, but we'll put this in a loop also, so we'll run it every single minute or so in order to get a process that continuously checks the website for us. So we also need to, so I made a small mistake here. I put an additional character that shouldn't be there in the receiving email. Hopefully you didn't do the same mistake there. Also, I wrote a brief send mail, just a dummy function to, or a way to kind of mock and test the function to see that we actually get something. So this is being run at all times, and not just if the value differs, since that will be fairly seldom depending on what you're checking. But as we run the script, we got this text file the first time, and we also successfully sent the email, and this is what it looks like. SSSB has updated apartments from 1 to 2, and that will correspond to these dummy variables sent in, but we will rely on this function for now, since we know that it works. Also, if you haven't, you should, if you use a plain or your actual password for the sending email account, you should allow less secure app access. This means that you can use it via the web or the SMTP library. So that you should set there. An alternative is to enable two-factor authentication on your account, and then go from there and create an app password. There will be a specific password that you can use to connect via apps to your account. So that's, but I'll leave links to that down in the description. So you might have noticed some error messages in the terminal, and or at least two of them. One is this unexpected token, and that has to do with the XPath and how you get the address here, I think, with the WebDriver. But how, or not the address, but the object that you want. But it works, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. Also, this handshake failed is due to an iframe not being loaded at the time the handshake is attempting to do its handshake process, but it will try again if it fails, so it should be all good. So you have to restart the terminal whenever you set your environment variables, if you decided to do so, so please verify that, and also that you have put the WebDriver in the Windows folder. Regarding the imports, basically the only the requirement or dependency is Selenium. All of the other ones, like the email one, the OS and the SMTP lib, should be default packages with Python 3, so there you should be fine. So let's wrap this one up by looping over this check if updated function, because we want to perform it actually an arbitrary number of times, since it should be running in the background. And we could do this by a simple while true loop, and then let it use the time.sleep and update frequency in seconds. We could call this variable, and that will simply be, let's define it outside, that'll be how many seconds we want it to sleep in between each execution. And we could set it to 60 there, so we'll have 1 hour in between each fetch, each new fetch to the website. That should be good, and you can of course change that to however many seconds you need for your application, etc. And then we finally import the time dependency here, like that. Yeah, so now if you run the script, you should be good to go. It should run and then execute every hour. So that was all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and please tell me down below if you use this for any cool projects. It would be really fun to hear what kind of applications you came up with. Also, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if you have any feedback on what I could improve on. So yeah, until next time, see you soon.